Hello, Aaron.
All right, Greg, we should be live. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm joined today by Greg Schilling. I'm saying it right, right? Schilling.
Yes, you are.
You and I have never actually spoken on the phone. We've texted a lot. So
We
for everyone
have.
watching, Greg, you were in the courtroom at the Danny Masterson trial this morning. You sent me a message and you said the testimony
Mhm.
that you listened to was absolutely devastating. What did you hear?
We heard something that came from a different direction. This is only my second day in court, and I've only spent 2 mornings, so I haven't spent a lot of time. Previous to this, it was the testimony of uh, the three women uh, who had the complaint of being raped. And so they did all the testifying. I didn't see that. I read it in Tony Ortega's blog. Uh, it was remarkable. It was just remarkable. So then they started moving to other witnesses, and the witness they brought in this morning was a ringer. She has a PhD in psychology that she got from Illinois University. She is a professor emeritus connected to a well-known university. So she truly is an expert. She's got 30 years in the business. What she went on to tell the court.
Greg, did I lose you? You had me in suspense right there. How did I just lose him? Oh boy, oh
One of
boy.
them, did you lose me?
Yeah, okay. Your connection was interfered with. The last thing I heard, you gave her credentials and you said she went on to tell the court and then it froze. So pick up from
She
there.
she went on to tell the court how and why someone could remain in a relationship with someone after they had been raped.
Mm.
Because I expect the prosecution is expecting the defense to start in on that because they had earlier. They had started asking questions around that, and you could see that they're winding up for it. There's nowhere they can go after her testimony. Her testimony was so complete and so convincing. It sounded did not know Danny Masterson's case. It sounded like she had written the story. It it because she talked about battered women and different types of relationships where a person will stay in a bad relationship. She even talked about how many times on average they leave before they make it permanent. It was seven,
Wow.
by the way.
No
Well,
way.
that lands a considerable amount of credibility. Was it Jane Doe too who stayed in a relationship with him? I'm lost track.
It was Jane Doe 3 was with him for 6 years, but not six
Okay.
years after the first. By the way, on YouTube, the acronym that is frequently used is SA, stands for something that rhymes with schmexual assault.
You're getting very good at this.
So yeah, so we can say SA. So she was in a relationship with him for 6 years, but not 6 years after the first incident of SA, just 6 years total.
Okay, sorry for the moving it. I got to get the volume back. Okay, I'm sorry. I moved you around.
That's okay.
Oh, she was very convincing. The jury, all of them were completely on board listening. They were listening to every word. Nobody was bored. Nobody was looking away. No one was nodding off. They were all over this witness. She just had so much credibility. Her windup, by the way, was her bio. Mueller asked her for her bio. 20 minutes later, she finished her bio. It is that long. It is that impressive. So they're not going to lay a hand on her. But she has removed, by her being there, she has removed the issue of, well, he wouldn't have, couldn't have raped you. You wouldn't have stayed. That's gone. So
Mm.
they're taking, and while she was testifying, Danny Masterson started to slink down in his chair. I was only about 15 feet away from Danny, and I had a clear shot at him. I had a just perfect clear shot. I could see him all the way down to his shoes. He has good taste in shoes, by the way. I'll let you know that they're Italian. Uh, I observed him, and he looks horrible. He looks horrible. Well, I would look horrible too if I had everybody coming at me, and proving that he's, basically he's lying, and they're going to prove that he did the deed. So far, it looks to me it would convince a jury. I I don't see anything coming that would change that up. As But as she spoke, I was sitting about, as I said, 15 feet away from her and about 5 feet away from the Masterson family. You could cut the air with a knife. It was so tense for them. But the family looked even worse than Danny did, and I'm wondering, don't they know all of this, or are there details coming out that they didn't know? Because they look awful.
I would have to assume that Danny has only ever given them the most acceptable version of the truth as Danny sees it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't believe that he would have been like, well, here's everything the women are going to say. And I know that I would be shocked if Danny's family members have spoken to these victims. I think there's almost no chance that that has occurred.
No chance.
So this probably is the first time they are hearing the straight, unfiltered, unadulterated version of events, which, and this is a very small courtroom, right?
Yes, it is.
Like, everyone is just right there in with each other.
Yes, I'm 5 feet away from the family, and they have two rows. They have two rows. They have probably two short rows, very short rows, and I'm sitting. The closest person I'm sitting to is Danny Matheson's wife, and boy, does she look concerned. It
Wow.
just they look very, very concerned. This is probably not going the way they were sold.
I don't know of any other Scientologist who has ever been successfully prosecuted for this type of crime. Have you ever heard of one?
Yes.
Successfully criminally prosecuted?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now I got to remember his name. Reed Slatkin.
No, he didn't get prosecuted for that, did he?
Oh, no. Excuse me. No. His was financial. No,
Right.
I don't know of anybody. No, I don't know of. This is a first. This is
Yeah.
truly a first.
Wow.
The church looks bad. Oh, they just look bad. They really look bad.
So let me ask you this. The testimony, I want to get a sense, because, Tony publishes great updates, his notes. I mean, what Tony publishes is essentially the closest thing we have to a live transcript.
Yes.
And you get the content, but you don't necessarily get the emotion or the spirit of it. And here's what I'm asking about this expert witness. Is she intensely qualified but boring? Or is she like riveting and engaging in her testimony?
The part that was boring is, I think she spent too long on her bio. I saw a couple of jury members start looking away. Remember, she went 20 minutes. That's a long time of hearing technical stuff.
Yeah.
Right? It's all academia. I think they should have cut it to 10. However, what she said, and there wasn't much prompting. There was very little prompting. She just went right into it. I think this is what she's brought in for, is specifically this type of a situation. She went right into it, and she started explaining the different levels of it, the different types of it, how it happens, who it happens to, and even all the way down to an average of 7 times to break away when they're in that situation, that they break up and come back, break up and come back. She devastated. She was describing Danny Masterson, and she didn't even know the case. And
wow.
she was landing one blow after another with her speaking. She was very calm. She was not animated. She's just laying it out. And he just kept slinking in the chair. By the end of it, I told Jeff Augustine, who I met there, I said, his attorney needs to tell him to sit up straight. And Jeff said, I know, I saw the same thing. He says he just kept going down in that chair the longer she spoke. Yeah, it's seriously dense in that room.
So 2 of the 3 victims that Danny's facing charges for, Jane Doe 1 and Jane Doe 2, did not have any relationship with Danny. We're not dating him. And so I'm wondering if the testimony that this expert witness provided, was it solely applicable to Jane Doe 3, or were there items here that were also applicable to the other case, the other women?
No, I heard what was applicable to Jane Doe 3. That's what I heard. Maybe I missed things, but the focus was on that. This is a well-prepared case. I'm very impressed. It looks like it's airtight. They put in a terrific amount of time and resources into this thing, and looks like they got it right.
Yeah. So you left after the morning session, is that correct?
No, I left after the lunch session. I didn't come back after lunch.
Okay. By the time you left, had Philip Cohen had a chance to start any cross-examination on this expert witness?
Yes.
Barely. What was he trying to cross-examine with?
Hold on a second. I'm not sure. I believe so. I think so. I've got to go back. I believe he had just started, and then we broke for lunch.
But you would remember if he'd started questioning.
He did. No, I remember. He did question her, because the last of the questions, I think it was not Philip wasn't doing it. It was another woman. She was doing the questioning.
Yeah, there is more than one defense attorney. Yeah.
That's why I don't remember it. She did it, and she even got to how much are you paid per hour. So I know that she did it. It's $400.
It's so pathetic. Like, these expert witnesses are all paid. Trying to discredit them by saying they're being paid is like ridiculous. But what were they, aside from just asking about money, how else did they try to invalidate this expert's testimony?
Oh, they said that some of the things she said were opinions and weren't complete science, and the jury was still out on it, and da da da. And she said, "Yes, you're right." There was never an argument. They said, "Well, this and this." Yes, you're right. She had so much credibility, and she wasn't going to argue with them either. And if they had a valid point, she gave it. She had so much credibility, the jury bought it, quite frankly.
Wow. There's a comment here that says, or a question, any observations that did not show up in Tony's notes today? Any observations of the gallery or the jury, or any other thoughts on the feel of the courtroom? Thank you, Leah, for the question. What do you have to that say to that?
Well, it's too broad, so I'm going to narrow it down. My answer is yes. My answer is yes. And here's my observation. So Danny has good taste and an expense account when it comes to fine Italian shoes. If you look at his cuff, it looks like he had to sell all his Rolexes, and he's wearing a cheap watch. Now, I wasn't close enough to see the face. I collect watches. I like these things. I wasn't close enough to see the face of the watch, but I saw the band. The band looks cheap. Aluminum, alloy, cheap, looks cheap. I noticed these things. I think he sold his Rolexes, poor thing.
How do you know he had Rolexes?
He had a beautiful home. He probably did, but they're gone. They're gone, and now Mr. Cohen has them.
So your theory is that anyone that would spend that kind of money on shoes would also be spending that kind of money on watches. And if he's wearing nice shoes and a crap watch, then he must have sold the watch.
He had to. How would you walk around with a crappy watch and you're wearing beautiful Italian shoes? It makes no sense. It's inconsistent.
I never thought about it before.
Now, I will say something, and this isn't very nice because I have nothing on his brother. I don't care about his brother at all. But his brother does not have good taste. And I think these things are important to flush out in these talks that we have. His brother was wearing high water pants. They were at least an inch higher than the ankle. They were high. It didn't look good. And he's wearing a cheap watch, had a rubber band.
Is this Chris or Jordan?
He's the same size, and he has a beard. His hair is slightly less red. I don't know. I don't know which one.
I actually couldn't pick Chris and Jordan out of the lineup, so I don't know.
Well, somebody needs to talk about their fashion when they're going to show up in a courtroom.
I mean, it's true. If you're an actor and you're going to show up to a courtroom in Los Angeles, you better be dressing for the part. But
I hope they listen. I hope someone listens in and tells them.
But in your opinion, though, the jury was like eating out of this expert witness's hand. If she lost them in her 20-minute introduction, how did she not lose them during her? She got them back.
She didn't lose them all, but there were 2 or 3 that you could see they were drifting. When she started talking about, why she was there and about types of situations that people get themselves into when they get raped, and the psychological thing that happens around it, and the manipulation, they were listening intently. And she was brilliant. She's not half-baked. She was really brilliant. They were listening. Did they listen to everything? Who knows? I don't know. I just don't know. But she was laying it out. I can tell you who was listening. Who was listening was Danny Masterson, because he just looked worse and worse and worse, because it's all coming at him.
Very interesting.
And the family, dour.
I did not get a chance to read any of Tony's notes for today so far, but it must have been yesterday that I saw the judge said she expects the prosecution's case to be finished, rested, settled, whatever the word is, not this coming Thursday, but the Thursday after. And I know you weren't there for very long, but did you hear anything about how long the defense is estimating they will need to call their witnesses? Because there's only a few.
I didn't hear it.
Okay.
I didn't hear it. And boy, they better be good, because they're coming from a huge deficit in this case.
Yeah. Okay. Luckily, we can still hear you perfectly. Your image froze a little bit, but as of now, that it's totally okay.
Okay.
Did you get a chance to read any of Tony's notes from today, particularly even for the morning session that you were present for?
No. I've been on the road.
Okay. Do you have any plans to attend the court sessions moving forward?
I think I'm going to be going next week. I just have to move plans around, but I would like to.
Great.
It's really interesting. I haven't been to a Scientology court case since. Do you remember Omar Garrison?
He's the author. I read one of his books that he wrote about Operation Snow White.
What was his name? The Canadian that got away, named Jerry something. He got away with 250,000 sheets of LRH's bio.
Oh, Jerry Armstrong.
No. Was it Jerry Armstrong? The
Yeah.
Canadian? Okay.
I think he's Canadian. No, didn't he flee to Canada? I don't think he's Canadian.
He fled to Canada because I think he's Canadian. Am I wrong?
Well, then you could be right, but then how is that fleeing if you're just going home?
Well, good point.
I really don't know. If he's Canadian, I was unaware. And if he is, then they should stop saying he fled the country. But what about Jerry and Omar? Was there a case, and did you were present?
There was a case that I went to in 1979 when the church was suing to get the documents back.
Okay.
Because he had left with the original documents, all the smear stuff, boxes and boxes of it. And Omar Garrison was just pouring through it and having a ball writing LRH's bio. So that they paid him off for that, but not before it went to court. Jerry Armstrong won. That really upset them, and I don't know. They've been after him ever since, apparently.
Greg, did you know that Scientology has never won a jury trial in its entire history of existence?
No, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah. That is one of the reasons that, and I realize Scientology is not literally on trial in this case, but it is almost by proxy. And
Yeah.
it's one of the reasons Scientology will spend almost an unlimited amount of money to settle cases before they go to court, because they know no matter how much they spend in a settlement, it's going to be exponentially more in a jury trial. And they have never won a jury trial ever. I think that's very important for people to know and really appreciate.
So my question to you is, did the church tell Danny to cop a plea, and Danny said no?
I think that's likely. I think that's likely. There's no way Scientology wanted Danny to go to trial.
They have nothing to gain. They have everything to lose.
That's right. And I'm speculating here. I think Danny was simply not given any deals that involved 0 jail time. And I just don't think Danny was willing to cut a deal that involved any jail time at all. And it's almost like I can even kind of understand where he's coming from on that. Like, if you want to roll the dice, like what's the least amount of jail time the prosecution might have offered him? 3 years, 5 years? 3 years is a shitload of time.
No, it would have been more than that, because he's up for 45.
Well, sure, and that's what I mean. Even if in a crazy world where someone's like, I'll give you only 3 years, and you're Danny Masterson, are you ready to just willingly agree to 3 years of prison without a fight? I doubt it. And there's no way they gave him 3 years as an option. You know what I mean?
No, 10. It would start at 10. It would start at 10. And my guess is if he got to negotiate today, he might consider it, because it's not looking like he made the right bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
look, if you're going to be going to the courtroom next week, then let's plan on catching up each day when you're done. I'd love to hear your take on it. And say hi to Say hi to Jeff Augustine for me. I haven't spoken to him in a little bit.
I never met him before in my life. I met him in the bathroom and introduced myself. And so that's how it started. Anyway, so we started chatting and comparing notes.
Is it true, if I read correctly something Tony had written, are there really only 4 or 5 seats open to the public in this courtroom?
This is bullshit. They lied to me. So there's 2 rows. You can sit probably 10 people in a row.
Mm-hmm.
The guy lied to me. He was just some low-level clerk.
Well, hold on. If there's only 20 seats, here's what I actually meant. You have the reporters, you have the court.
They have their own seats. There's no. There is 20 seats just for public.
Oh.
Then you have another 10 seats in the back just for press. Then you have the 2 rows to the side that I was sitting next to that are just for the family.
Oh, I get it. Were there actually seats available in the courtroom, or were they all filled?
Yes. No, there were seats.
Really? Danny Masterson can't even fill up a courtroom. This guy's so unpopular.
He's being outpulled by a bigger star.
Harvey Weinstein's right down the hall, right?
Right down the hall. You want an autograph?
From Harvey?
Hell yeah, I can get it for you. I'm sure I can.
No, but if I wonder if there's any celebrities over in Harvey's courtroom. You'd have to be insane to show your face at a Harvey Weinstein trial if you're a celebrity. Like,
no one will be there.
I doubt his family members are even showing up.
No, they're of course not.
Yeah,
of course not.
And I'll tell you what, for all the tens of thousands of Scientologists that are supposed to be living in Los Angeles, I guess they don't really want to show Danny any support. They can't even send 20 people to fill up the damn seats.
There's 10 people, and there were 10 people in those seats today in the public seats. I think 2 or 3 of them were attorneys, probably doing reconnaissance for the church.
Right.
A few public. Not much. Really not much. He doesn't have his fan base is not turning out for him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, excellent. Thanks for sharing with us your observations and your thoughts.
My pleasure.
Much appreciated. And I
There's
believe
something
court
I
is in
haven't.
session. Go ahead.
There has something I haven't disclosed, Aaron.
We're still live.
So as I was looking over at his cuffs, because he says cuffs, as I'm looking over at his cuffs, I noticed that his cuffs are wrinkled. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, do you mean that he can't even afford to go get his laundry professionally done and that he's got to launder them at home and iron them? Because this is a home ironing job. So it may be a serious financial situation. And we found out through the cuffs.
Yeah. I mean, you combine the cost of these attorneys with the loss of income. Danny will never work again. Well, it's hard to work when you're in prison, but it's probably, I know he was fired from the Netflix show that he was on. I don't think you can claw back someone's residuals. So he's probably still getting residuals from that 70s show. And maybe even, I don't know if Netflix pays residuals, but I have to imagine the financial situation is dire, which I got to tell you, the one person, I might have some sympathy for in this situation is his wife. So let's say Danny goes away for 25, 45 years, whatever it is. 45
She's
to life.
gone. She'll be gone.
Yeah, you're right. She'll move on to greener pastures.
Nobody hangs around for their prison husbands. Ask Reed Slacken's wife.
So does she get the property, or do they divorce and he keeps the property and gives it to his family? I mean, it's California, right? So it's pretty generous to the spouse, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know how that one works out. There's two things I can tell you for sure that are going to happen, even if he gets off. The first is that his career is ruined, and it was a prosperous career. It pays well. It's ruined. He won't get any more work. He'll have to find another career path.
True.
And he'll also be branded as No, he won't be a sex offender. Well, I don't know.
Well, he will be. He will be in the eyes of. Yeah.
The second thing that I don't think can be unwrung, as I observed it, is I don't think his marriage will ever be the same.
True.
Dragging his whole family through this, and her especially, and I think she's hearing things she never heard before, and
Absolutely.
it'll never be the same. So it truly is over for Danny Masterson. The only question is, will he be spending the rest of his life miserable in or out of jail?
Right. And I'll say this again. I've been contacted by people who are close with his wife, Bijou. By the way, I only say Bijou because that's what I hear other people say. If it was up to me, I always thought it was Bayou. But anyway, I've been contacted by people close to Bijou, Danny's wife, and they say Danny is physically abusive with Bijou. And what I can only conceive is going through her mind is that she's been sitting there however many years they've been married. I don't even know. Justifying his behavior all of the same ways Jane Doe 3 justified his horrible behavior. And when I say justified, I mean with the Scientology programming, the Scientology programming acting upon both of them in a way where it justifies his behavior in their minds. And I think, sometimes things just hit you in the face harder when you see it at a little bit of a distance. I think Bijou is sitting there listening to everything coming out of Jane Doe 3's mouth and realizing she might as well be talking about herself. And it's probably causing her to reevaluate everything she's put up with in this relationship. Do you know what I mean?
She was devastated. The woman, she was devastating. And yes, if that situation is going on with his current wife, his current relationship, it will never be the same. It just will never be the same. If he goes into jail, she'll be done with him instantly. That's what happens in prison. Their wives move on. They don't sit around and wait.
Well, Danny will get a new wife named Bubba.
He can have all the sex in prison that he wants.
People don't like joking about that, but I think it's funny. That's why I joke about it.
I like joking about it. I'm not politically correct.
Well, Greg, thank you so much. I'd love to speak to you again on Monday after court gets out. And as long as you're able to go, I would love to hear your download at the end of the day. So
My pleasure.
thank you everybody for watching. Wow, we've already been going for a half hour. It doesn't even seem like it. Thank you everybody for watching. Stay tuned for much more to come. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night. Okay, it'll take a few seconds to